Maybe this was already covered, but have you enjoyed Andor? Yeah, I think I liked The Mandalorian a bit more just because I think it harkened more closely to the spirit of George Lucas, like the first 2 seasons, more closely had that spirit of George Lucas's classic adventure stories. It was a really cool thing to do with having Tony Gilroy do a espionage and the Spark of the Rebellion series, and definitely well made, good character arcs. There was a couple of characters that I didn't really like how their stories ended up, and a couple things that were contrived, but overall mostly it was very entertaining and competently made and still seemed like it fit within George Lucas's mythology within this particular time period. But it's so funny how you have Andor and then you also have Obi-Wan, and these are supposed to exist within the same universe and they don't feel like it at all. Their new expanded universe, these new additions, don't have any sense that they belong together. And now you're gonna have, it was a Skeleton Crew is the newest show to come out, and I think it's set within the same time period of Ahsoka and all that, but this feels very much like it's a separate thing. Like it feels just like Goonies does Star Wars. I just feel like it could be really good just by itself, disconnected from the Star Wars label. I don't really feel like it needs it. I feel like there's a fun Goonies-like sci-fi adventure. That sounds good on paper, but to have it have like this Star Wars skin, it just feels so forced. And again, it just doesn't feel like it belongs in the same universe as Andor. None of these really feel like they're part of the same mythology and legendarium. I don't have high hopes for Skeleton Crew. I'm sure it's going to be competently made. It seems that they have good people involved. I have no idea. They've had good people involved before and it's just come completely undone. It's been a dumpster fire for that too. So honestly, you really don't know what you're going to get. You're either going to get an Andor or you're going to get an Acolyte. That seems to be. But more often than not, you're going to get an Acolyte. There was something about Jude Law's character that I think he's like a Jedi. There's something weird about him. So that's the only part that I'm very... They could only do Star Wars when it's like another genre. It's another genre with a Star Wars skin. And I'm kind of tired of seeing that. I just wish we could just have Star Wars and have it just be that. Be its own unique thing. Not where it's just trying to be like other things or trying to copy itself from previous Star Wars things, literally using direct lines of dialogue and certain character moments just directly ripped off of previous Star Wars things. And when it's not doing that, it's ripping off of other IPs like Dune and Lord of the Rings. I have no idea what's going to happen with Skeleton Crew. Again, there's like some competent people in there. Looks good. I think they're going to have some of those weird space pirates, though, from Mando Season 3. Honestly, I just don't have hope anymore for this. I think Andor is, yes, one of those few cases. I don't know how that got through. But you have a case where Tony Gilroy is spearheading that. He knows what he's doing. He has a great resume. He has great experience in that kind of espionage storylines. And so putting that towards the Star of the Rebellion, that's a good idea. That's, on paper, that's great. And because of his experience and his filming expertise, it looks good. And the stories are good. Characters are good. It's unfortunately, it cost so much. That's the only thing about that particular production. I think it cost them the most, actually, $250 million. But with that production, it was 12 episodes, I think, and they were pretty lengthy in comparison to like The Acolyte. The Acolyte was 230 million, was the final number, and that was only 8 30-minute episodes. I think it's grown a bit of a cult following, and I don't think it was getting great viewing numbers, but it was better than The Acolyte. But unlike other shows, the money was on the screen. Exactly. Yeah, you could tell. The props looked good, the sets looked good that they built, and visual effects looked great. Everything in every department worked out. But unfortunately, it's just, I don't think they should have named it Andor. That's another thing too with the problems that they're having. Their naming conventions for Disney Star Wars is atrocious. That show should not be called Andor. It should have another broader name. It's a very much an ensemble show, and to just limit it to one character who everyone knows what happens to in the end of Rogue One. We all know his fate, so there's kind of that lack of drama and tension when it comes to his storyline. It really should have been advertised as more of a broader rebellion series and having a name that reflects that. The same thing with like the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That is a horrible title, and it doesn't actually make sense. It should just have been called the Mandalorian movie. I don't know. Calling it the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is so stupid. Oh, it's so dumb.